request you to kindly take your seats. Our program of remembrance will begin shortly.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض المسرفون صدق الله المولانا العظيم.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Al-Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah, Ayat 32. Because of that, we decreed upon the children of Israel that whoever kills a soul unless for a soul or for corruption done in the land, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely. And whoever saves one, it is as if he had saved mankind entirely. And our messengers had certainly come to them with clear proofs. Then indeed many of them, even after that throughout the land, were transgressors. Sadaqallahul Azim.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Addishta Sarvabhuta Namo Maitre Koruno Ebocha Nirmam Nirahankaro Samadukha Khami Santushta Satatama Jogi Jatna Varadhir Nishchaya Mai Arpita Monamo Buddhi Yama Bhakta Sheme Priya.
Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verse 13-14. The one I love, who is incapable of ill will, who is friendly and compassionate, living beyond the reach of eye and mind, and of pleasure and pain, patient, contented, self-controlled, firm and faith, with all his heart and all his mind given to me, with such a one I am in love.
সকলকেই প্রীতি ও শুভেচ্ছা জানিয়ে পবিত্র বাইবেলের নতুন নিয়মের মতলিখিত সুসমাচারের 5 অধ্যায় 21 থেকে 22 পদ ব্যাখ্যা সহ পাঠ করছি। পুরাতন নিয়মের ব্যবস্থায় তৌরাত বলে, তুমি নরহত্যা করিও না, আর যে নরহত্যা করে সে বিচারে দায়ে পড়বে। কিন্তু আমি তোমাদেরকে কহিতেছি, যে কেহ আপন ভ্রাতার প্রতি ক্রোধ করে সে বিচারের দায়ে পড়বে। আর যে কেহ ভ্রাতাকে বলে রে নির্বোধ, সে মহাসভার দায়ে পড়বে। আর যে কেউ বলে যে মূঢ়, সে অগ্নিময় নরকের দায়ে পড়বে। মসির ব্যবস্থা তৌরাতের শিক্ষা অনুসারে নরহত্যা করা পাপ, ফলে তার বিচার হবে। ইনজিল শরীফে প্রভু যীশু বলেছেন, নিজের ভাইয়ের প্রতি রাগ করা যাবে না, কারণ বিচার হবে। এমনকি নিজের ভাইকে নির্বোধ বললে মহাসভার বিচারে দায়ে পড়বে। পবিত্র বাইবেলের শিক্ষা অনুসারে আজ বলতে চাই, একে অন্যের সাথে ভালোবাসা ধার দিই, তাতে করে আমরা আমাদের পবিত্র ঈশ্বরের বিধান পালন করতে পারবো। সেই বিধান হলো প্রতিবেশীকে আপনার মতো ভালোবাসা, কারণ প্রেম কখনো প্রতিবেশীর ক্ষতি করতে পারে না। অতএব আসুন একে অন্যকে ভালোবাসি, যদি সাধ্য হয় আমাদের যত দূর হাত থাকে সকল মানুষের সাথে শান্তিতে বাস করি। এর মাধ্যমে পবিত্র ঈশ্বর তিনি গৌরবান্বিত হবেন, মানুষ ও জাতি ভালো থাকবে। পবিত্র ঈশ্বর আমাদের সকলকে সুস্থ এবং প্রেমের বন্ধনে আবদ্ধ রাখুন। আমেন।
Matthew 5:21-22. You have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to the court. And anyone who shall say, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa buddhang saranang gacchami dhammang saranang gacchami sanghang saranang gacchami panatipata veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami.
Bina Pinaki, first shill of Pontushil. The great Gautam Buddha said, "Do not kill people, or any creature great or small. Killing people or creatures is a great sin, and even after death shall lead to great pain and suffering for 80 kalpo in the fires of hell."
I would like to introduce Syed Nasim Manzur, President, MCCI.
Excellencies, leaders and members of the business fraternity, fellow members of MCCI, family of Faraaz Hossain, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. We are gathered here tonight to mourn and to hope. To mourn because 23 lives, righteous lives, were cut short senselessly, brutally, and unrighteously on the night of July 1st during the attack on Holey Artisan Bakery. To hope because 23 great souls will live on amongst us forever. Great souls like Claudia, who with her husband lived in Bangladesh for more than 20 years, helping the people of Bangladesh not only through her business, but also by helping to sponsor surgeons from Italy to come and help burn victims and acid victims. Kind souls, like the Assistant Commissioner of the Detective Branch, Mr. Rabiul Karim, who founded and paid for from his own salary every month the expenses for running a school for 36 physically disadvantaged children in his village that he had named Bloom. Strong souls, like Saiful Islam Chowkidar, who was the assistant chef of the Holey Artisan Bakery, who chose to come back after 10 years of working in Germany to become a pizza chef in Holey and to raise his family. The final question that we must all answer at the end is not who were we, or what were we, or what did we have. The final question, I believe, will be what did we do with our lives? Each one of the victims at the Holey Artisan Bakery were trying to do something with their lives in their own way. Faraaz Hossain was a righteous and courageous soul who chose to answer that question in the most emphatic way imaginable by his decision to not leave behind his two friends, Abinta and Tarishi. Islam does not distinguish between the life of a Muslim and a non-Muslim. All are sacred in the eyes of our Creator. All are inviolable. Because we are all human and all equally valuable in the eyes of the one who created us, Faraaz and the others gave their lives for this creed. That is why tonight we have gathered here to offer our heartfelt condolences to Waquer and Simeen Hossain and their entire family, as well as the families of all the victims. And we are also gathered here tonight to show that we have hope. Hope because of what Faraaz showed. Hope because more than 100,000 clerics and Islamic scholars have issued a fatwa against violence and extremism in the name of religion and for peace and for human well-being, even before July 1st. Hope because many of the killers were rejected by their own families and buried with no one to even pray by their graveside. Hope because our friends from abroad continue to live and work in Bangladesh side by side with us to carry on the good work started by others. Albert Einstein said that we cannot solve problems at the same level at which we created them. The attackers of the Holey Artisan Bakery wanted to kill for hatred. But Faraaz and all the victims chose to die for love, their love for humanity and their way of life. In the battle for hearts and minds in Bangladesh, we believe love will always triumph over hatred. and compassion will unite us, and truth will make us strong. Bangladesh stands united today against violent extremism in all its forms and hate in all its forms. Bangladesh stands for peace and coming together to preserve that peace and tolerance. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Bangladesh way of life. I thank you all for your attention. I would now like to request, please, to join me on stage for a minute of silence in honor of Faraaz and all 23 victims. President of FBCCI, Mr. Abdul Matlub Ahmed, if you would please join me, sir. President of ICC Bangladesh, Mr. Mahbubur Rahman. President of Dhaka Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Hossein Khalid. President of Chittagong Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Mahbubul Alam. President of the Foreign Investors Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mrs. Rupali Chaudhary. President of the Bangladesh Textile Mills Association, Mr. Tapon Chaudhary. The President of the Bangladesh Chamber of Industries, Mr. A.K. Azad. Her Excellency, the U.S. Ambassador, Ms. Marcia Stephens Barnicat. His Excellency, the Indian High Commissioner, Mr. Harsh Shringla. The EU Head of Delegation, His Excellency, Mr. Pierre Mailledon. The High Commissioner of the United Kingdom, Her Excellency, Ms. Alison Blake. The Italian Charge d'Affaires, Mr. Giuseppe Semenza. The Vice President of the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Akhtar Mateen Chaudhary. Secretary General of MCCI, Mr. Farooq Ahmed.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to kindly stand for a minute's silence in honor of the deceased. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I request the guests on the dais to kindly take their seats.
I would now like to request the President of the Federation of Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Mr. Matlub Ahmed, to make his speech.
Good evening, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. With very heavy heart, I speak today. And before I move on to my main topics, I would like to thank MCCI on behalf of the entire business community and on behalf of the families who have lost their beloved ones to have organized such a unique meeting. In my entire life in business, I have not seen such love for the people who have departed in such circumstances. Thank you, MCCI, for taking this lead. The terrible attack on the Holey Artisan Bakery was intended to frighten and stop Bangladesh. The way the government and the people of Bangladesh has stood up against terrorism, have started speaking against terrorism, and have started taking action against terrorism, I believe they will not succeed, at least in Bangladesh. While I give my full condolences to the 23 lives that has been lost in this sad episode, we would also like to recognize that the Prime Minister herself had taken huge interest in trying to solve and resolve it as quickly and as strongly as possible. I believe if you look around the world, while an incident is happening, the 3 services chief is present at the location. Shows the intention of the government to see how best to solve it with minimum loss and with the fastest and strongest action against such terrorism. We thank the government and the Honorable Prime Minister for doing so. Despite this terrible tragedy, we still remain hopeful about our future. The way the government is working, the way that all the entire business community and the foreign community have started discussion about security, yes, we are sure our future will continue to grow. In honor of those who have lost lives, because of so many actions that has been taken the last 1 month or so, Bangladesh is now much safer than it was before July 1. On behalf of FBCCI, I would like to extend our deepest condolences to the family of Faraaz Hossain for their loss and all the families, including the foreigners who have lost lives. It was Martin Luther King who said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Let us have faith in our love. Bangladesh had always believed love and peace. It still remains so. Today, we just saw important, very important foreign dignitaries who are present today. Bangladesh business and Bangladesh as a country needs your support now more than ever before. You have seen so many government actions. So many meetings are happening every day on especially how to avoid such issues in future. They've even started grabbing some of the future problems that could arise. However, there are many countries in the world now who still has red alert on Bangladesh. There are people coming to Bangladesh for business. Like yesterday we found a German delegation. Earlier we had delegations from Japan and other places. But the red alert is hurting the Bangladesh's business activities. We strongly urge those countries in the world who has still red alert on us to kindly see that the government is doing its level best and that this phenomenon is not only in Bangladesh but spread to many countries of the world. Bangladesh is a developing nation. It needs investment. It needs business. So I appeal on behalf of the business community to the world, please try to understand that Bangladesh is hurting by the red alert. We promise that your security is a responsibility of all Bangladeshis. Today, once more, I pay my condolences to the families who has lost the bright stars, who could have been great leaders in the future. I thank you all for listening to me. Thank you very much.
I would like to request now the Indian High Commissioner, His Excellency Mr. Harshvardhan Shringla, to address us.
And other industry associations represented here, my fellow ambassadors and members of the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen, friends. The terrorist attack in Dhaka on the 1st of July has left a deep and painful impact on all of us who are gathered here this evening. For the families and friends of the victims of the attack, the loss has been irreparable. I wish to join you in conveying our heartfelt empathy and condolences to the families of the victims. And I wish in particular to pay my condolences to the parents and grandparents of Faraaz who are present with us. The President, the Prime Minister and External Affairs Minister of India have strongly condemned the terrorist attack and conveyed to the government and people of Bangladesh our strong support in their fight against terrorism. In a video conference with the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, stated that Bangladesh was not alone in its fight against terrorism. The people of India stood firmly with Bangladesh in its efforts. India condemns terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. There can be no justification for terrorism, and such acts of senseless violence in the same way that there can be no good or bad terrorists. Bangladesh has announced a policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism and adopted a comprehensive approach in fighting terrorism at all levels with the support of the people. We look forward to working with the government of Bangladesh in its efforts to defeat the forces of terrorism and the ideologies of fundamentalism and extremism. As you know, one of the victims of the terrorist attack on the 1st of July was a young Indian national, Tarishi Jain. As can be imagined, her death was very heavy on her family and all those who knew this young, cheerful individual, full of potential of the life ahead of her. On behalf of the people of India, I convey my grateful thanks to the MCCI and other chambers of commerce of Bangladesh for organizing this memorial meeting for the victims of the 1st of July. I will convey the condolences that have been registered at this meeting to the parents of Tarishi. May she and the other victims of the attack rest in peace. I wish to end with a Sanskrit verse which goes as follows. Om asto ma sadgamaya, tamso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma amritam gamaya, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Lead us from unreality to reality. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from the fear of death to the fear of the knowledge of immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Thank you. Namaskar.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. President MCCI, distinguished members, leaders of the business community, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and a good evening to each one of you. In a meeting like this, very often than not, I cannot console myself to remain within the frame to talk on a subject which pains you so much, and you hardly can make a fathom of it. The Holey Artisan incident of July 1, it is just next door to my residence in Gulshan, and unfortunately I was away from my residence on that night, fateful night. And my family and my son was also not there, my wife was not there. My daughter-in-law and my 2-year-old grandson was there. And I have been receiving telephone calls that they are in danger, but cannot help. And I was in constant touch with Simeen, who was stand still from evening to the early morning and could not do anything for her son who is due to die. In the early morning, could be after Fajr prayer, when I learned about the fate of Faraaz and 20 others, I couldn't believe myself. And I was also in touch with Mr. Latifur Rahman, who was at that time in Kuala Lumpur. We really didn't believe that this could happen. Maybe at some time or the other, they will give up, and we did not know the intensity of this. But nevertheless, not to make it a long story, everybody knows about it. I would say that at this point of time, Bangladesh rose to the occasion. The government of Bangladesh, the people of Bangladesh, the business community, everyone in unison, that we need to fight the terrorism, and there is no place for terrorists to be in this country. There has been some time we found that some of our people are trying to push it under the carpet, saying that there is no such existence in our country and no such people. There are some homegrown terrorists, etc. In the event of such nature, there is no homegrown, no overseas grown. There should not be anything like that. Anywhere that is creating the complete disruption in the society at large, and we all should be together to fight it out. And in case of Bangladesh, I would like to say that we were together before, we are together now, but it should be dealt with in a manner so that it doesn't rise again. In case of Faraaz, I would only like to say that his mother should be proud of that she has given birth to a son like Faraaz. The boy was with me 7 days and nights in Moscow and St. Petersburg. I was invited by his grandparents to be there. And the boy was following me like a shadow throughout the period of our stay in that country. I couldn't believe that he can leave us like that. And he has given his life, sacrificed his life for a cause. He couldn't leave behind his friends, and he buy the freedom. That was not the teachings that he received from his parents and from his grandparents and the family. So he sacrificed his life for a cause. And Faraaz is Islam. Faraaz is Bangladesh. That is how this Islam is all about. Islam is not that IS. Islam is not the Ansarullah. Islam is not the JMB. Islam is always the very word stands. Islam is peace. So it is for peace, and one for the other. আমরা একে অপরের জন্য, and we should work together in that spirit. And I would like to say that Faraz's sacrifice has been recognized at home and abroad. Many media and various other countries, including India, they have covered widely about his sacrifice and his spirit. And as you all know that in Tunisia, German embassy put the olive tree on their compound where they have included Faraz. It is all for the Arabs who has sacrificed their life for different reasons and for which they have been called as the righteous people, where the Faraz has been included. Is not only non-Arab person, and I would only like to say that this is a recognition, this is a year for the spirit, for the faith, for the sacrifice that you do for your friends, for your people, for your religion. And our religion, Islam has only taught us like that. Now that terror attacks seem like frequent occurrences, there is a tendency to allow ourselves to become numb to the news of news assaults. But we must not become desensitized to these barbaric attacks on humanity, because it dulls our resolve and thus our collective commitment to winning the war on terror and eradicating those perpetrating these actions. We have fought for 9 months for our independence and have been fighting against natural calamities. We will definitely be able to eradicate terrorism from Bangladesh, and in this regard, we, the business, express our solidarity with the government and the whole world. I believe we should move away from debates over whether the terrorists were homegrown or affiliates of ISIS or Al-Qaeda. We must acknowledge the ground realities. There are groups ideologically linked with such international outfits, the mandate of which is to kill innocents in the name of religion, which religion never permits. We must combat this evil not just with more efficient and sophisticated security measures. We must fight this terror ideologically by finding ways to stop our young people from being radicalized and lured into the distorted path of murder and suicide. Both acts categorically condemned by our religion, Islam. On behalf of the ICC Bangladesh and on my own behalf, I would like to convey our deepest condolences to Faraz's family and those that of the Italians, the Japanese, Indian, and the American, and law enforcement officials who were killed on the 1st of July at the Holey Artisan Bakery. We pray to the Almighty Allah Rabbul Alameen to give enough strength to Faraz's parents Simeen Waquer and his brother Zaraif, grandparents Latifur Rahman, grandma Shahnaz Rahman, his uncle Riaz, Aunt Sheji Ashad, cousins, and the rest of the family to bear this irreparable loss with courage and fortitude. Here again I remember, this is a family has been withstanding with all these shocks, one after another. Mr. Latifur Rahman lost his daughter 18 years back. Now that he lost his grandson. I'm proud to be a friend of the family. Simeen is a proud mother to give a birth to a boy of this unparalleled character. I believe Allah Rahmanur Rahim will give him Jannatul Firdaus and award him the honor of a martyr. Faraz is a Faraaz is Bangladesh. Faraaz is the true spirit of Islam. With these words, I would like to have a munajat for Faraaz and those who died in this tragedy. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amin. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad Allahus samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad Allahus samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad Allahus samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. Lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. Man dhal ladzi yashfa'u indahu illa bi'iznihi. يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يعوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. اللهم آمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وأدخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. يا الله তুমি মেহেরবানি করে আমাদের আমি যা কিছু তেলাওয়াত করেছি ভুলভ্রান্তি মাফ করে দিয়া তুমি কবুল করিও এবং তার হাদিয়া রাসূল মকবুল সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লামের রূহ মুবারকে পৌঁছে দিও এবং তার হাদিয়া সমস্ত উম্মতে মুহাম্মাদি মুমিন মুমিনাত মুসলিম মুসলিমান যারা কবরে শায়িত আছেন তাদের রূহ মুবারক দিও। বিশেষ করে জুলাই 1 তারিখে যারা জীবন দান করেছেন তাদের রূহ মুবারকে তার হাদিয়া পৌঁছে দিও। খাস করে তুমি ফারাজ আয়াজ হোসেনকে আল্লাহ তুমি জান্নাতুল ফেরদৌস নসিব করিও, তার কবরকে জান্নাতের টুকরা বানায় দিও, তাকে তুমি শহীদের দরজা দান করিও। আল্লাহ আমাদের সবাইকে তুমি মাফ করো, আমাদের মা বাবা দাদা দাদি নানা নানি যারা কবরে শায়িত আছেন তাদের প্রত্যেককে জান্নাতুল ফেরদৌস বখশিশ করে দিও। আমাদেরকে তুমি মাফ করো, আমাদেরকে তুমি ক্ষমা করো, দয়া করো, আমাদেরকে তুমি সঠিক পথে পরিচালিত করো, আমাদের দেশকে তুমি তোমার পথে চলার তৌফিক দান করো। ওয়াসাল্লাল্লাহু তাআলা আলা খায়রি খালকিহি মুহাম্মাদিন ওয়া আলিহি ওয়া সাহবিহি আজমাইন বিরহমাতিকা ইয়া আরহামার রাহিমিন। Thank you.
The family of Faraaz Hossain, Mr. Muhammad Waquer and Mrs. Simeen Hossain, Mr. Latifur Rahman and Mrs. Rahman, and Mr. Zaraif Hossain. Co-owner of the O Kitchen, Mr. Ali Aralan, Mr. Nasim Manzur, President of MCCI, representatives of the Bangladeshi Chambers of Commerce and industry groups, my dear diplomatic colleagues, honored guests, assalamu alaikum, and a very good evening to all of you. We have heard already so many great tributes that I only want to add a few words. First, I have to give my thanks to you, the members of the FCCI, for giving us all the opportunity to be here tonight to honor all those lost on July 1st. The American people join the families and the business community in Bangladesh and people everywhere in condemning the vicious attacks against Bangladeshis and foreigners. The United States government and the American people were all deeply saddened by the July 1 Holey Artisan Bakery attack that so tragically took the lives of 20 innocents, including an American citizen and 2 other university students studying in the United States. We offer our condolences to all of the families and friends. Those killed were all contributing to Bangladesh in important ways, but these young students, who all loved Bangladesh, represented the best of all of us and all of our futures. We must each ask ourselves now, how can we honor the lives of those lost, but especially of Faraaz, Abinta, and Tarishi, and what is it that we can do to help achieve what these young people envisioned for a Bangladesh and a better world? Combined with the Shalokia and other attacks throughout the country, I understand the concerns of the business community. I learned early in my career, during my time in the private sector, that markets dislike uncertainty. The current situation requires a response from us all. I want to encourage all of us to continue to speak out and condemn these acts of violence and to oppose extremism. The answer to the current uncertainty is not to shut down businesses and to shut people out. Businesses must continue operating, students must continue attending school, and people should continue to feel free to go about their daily lives in defiance of terrorism. A forceful response from the government will help overcome the current crisis. Such a response will also ensure the security of businesses and all Bangladesh's citizens and those of us who are your guests, and give us all the assurances we continue to seek. The United States remains committed to acting jointly with the government of Bangladesh and other like-minded nations. We appreciate the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's unflagging commitment to fight terror, and we will draw strength and confidence from the governments and the business communities and others to provide a clear, authoritative message that it will enact its strategy in a collaborative and transparent manner in the fight against terrorism. I have said so often this last year that the attacks we have been witnessing do not represent the Bangladesh I have come to know and love. The Bangladesh that I know is tolerant and inviting. It has reduced the poverty rate and mother and child mortality and achieved self-sufficiency in food. The Bangladesh I know is innovative, resourceful, and open for business and to the world. Thank you, and I look forward to joining each and every one of you as we continue to honor the lives of those lost by rededicating ourselves to the important work at hand. Let us continue to work together to help this beautiful country realize its dreams. Perdonabad, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Parents of Faraaz, Mr. Waquer and Simeen Hossain, grandparents, Mr. Latifur Rahman and Mrs. Rahman, his sibling Zaraif Hossain, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It is with a sense of profound grief and sadness that I stand here to speak for those who are no more with us. It is indeed most somber moment for all of us to have gathered in such a memorial meeting. The incident of July 1 that saw the gruesome killing of 23 innocent souls at the eatery in Gulshan shall haunt us for a long time to come. I fondly remember friends from Italy, Japan, India, US, and of course our very own Bangladeshis who were victims of senseless killing by the misguided youths. This is for the first time that Bangladesh has experienced such a dreadful episode. Not only did we lose our well-wishers in their person, we have also lost great entrepreneurial minds and hard-working individuals who are working with Bangladesh business community to contribute towards our economy. Losing of such development partners in these trying times is a great loss. The great sacrifice that Faraaz has made for his friends will be inscribed in golden letters in our nation's history and will be remembered with tears and pain and pride. For all of us, the tranquil, glittery Ramadan evening turned into the worst nightmare of all times. My heart goes out to Waquer and Simeen Rahman and her family for their greatest loss. Their world and dreams must have shattered by the evils of darkness. We learn more about Faraaz from one of Simeen's open letters. How she tried to groom Faraaz into a perceptive and kind soul. Unimaginable is the great reasoning and courage that this young man possessed. We also remember the brave police officers who laid down their lives in the same evening. Today, as we mourn the sad demise of the unsuspecting souls, we also pronounce ourselves, our resolve, to stand against all sorts of terror acts, so no more mothers have to lose their children to such vicious acts of crime. Distinguished guests, Bangladesh is a land of communal harmony and peace. Our strength underlies in diversity of race and religion. We cannot afford to give away this congenial atmosphere to a band of mindless army of killers. Dhaka has been in mourning for the last 1 month, but we must learn to move on and defeat all extremism and negativity and take the country forward for the sake of all that has lost their lives. I would like to thank MCCI for organizing this memorial and allowing me to be a part. We pray for the departed and may their souls rest in peace in the highest of Jannah. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us His Excellency Monsieur Pierre Mailloudon, the EU Head of Delegation. May I request him to kindly address us.
Of the European Union and my own condolences to the families of these martyrs. Having a thought for the foreigners who lost their lives, 17 of them, including 9 European citizens, 9 Italians, I would say that with their blood, they have added an additional layer to the already so rich relation that we have with Bangladesh. And their sacrifice has created for us additional obligations. An obligation of unity first. National unity is very much, and rightly so, discussed these days, but I would argue that international unity is equally critical. And in these difficult circumstances, international unity can take many forms and shapes, starting with international cooperation for the investigation to be conducted by the best standards. I think we owe it to the martyrs. Another obligation is to stay engaged. And I would like there to echo the words of the President of the FBCCI. Certainly, the European Union and its business sector is determined to stay engaged with Bangladesh. And I can share with you that just a few days after this tragedy, the European Business Council met with the Honorable Commerce Minister Tofail Ahmed to discuss the way and means for recreating confidence and making sure that the commitment of the European business community to stay by the side of the Bangladeshis will remain unchanged. The terrorists of the 1st of July and those who inspire them wanted to teach us a lesson. But in memory of the 23 martyrs, by staying united and engaged, we will teach them a lesson. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to request President, Chittagong Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Mr. Mahbubul Alam, to address the guests.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today's Mr. Nasim Manzur, President MCCI, His Excellencies, business leaders and friends of business groups, print electronic media friends, Assalamu alaikum. Respected gathering, we deeply mourn the tragic death of Faraaz Ayaaz Hossain and others, and also the police officers of Bangladesh in the terrorist attack by the miscreants recently. It was first of its kind in Bangladesh, and the whole nation was greatly shocked at such an unexpected incident. We lost our friends and development partner from Italy, Japan, India, along with some potential youths who could bring better future for our country. Respected gathering, now time has come to respond to the call of necessity to fight these scores of terror and violence. We need to be united irrespective of our religious background, color, or heritage. None of our religions prescribes taking the lives of innocents. Our common humanity and our constitution should be a guide and inspiration to all of us. In today's geopolitical conflicts, we face real dangers and threats. There are many challenges for our national security which cannot be ignored. Yet, we cannot solve these problems by demerging or dividing any group of religion. We have to be in this fight together, and only then we can do. The government of Bangladesh is taken a serious step against terrorism, and also the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, proved himself against the terrorism, and he is serious about the terrorism. We have to strengthen our family ties, give importance upon education of moral values in our curriculum for our children, creates much awareness, and spread the verdict of Islam against terrorism. Let us work together to face terrorism all over the world at present perspective. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to request the Charge d'Affaires of the Italian Embassy in Dhaka, Mr. Giuseppe Semenza, to address us, please.
distinguished guests, dear colleagues and friends. This morning I was working in my office and I was thinking, must I write something to say, or if I write, what I write? In the same moment, I was working to send back some personal effects of Simona. Sorry if I'm emotionally involved, but in that moment I realized that if there is that we must say, is that their sacrifice must not be vain. What I want to say tonight, and I thank you, the MCCI, to give me this opportunity, is that tonight we are here together to prove that we all stand in front of terrorism. No one of us will step back. We are here to prove that the enemies of freedom, the enemies of friendship will never win. We are in front of many of the victims of their so-called war. It's not a war. It's just horrible killing. And we will never allow them to win. We will stay together with the Bangladesh friends, with all the friends from the other countries that are present here in Bangladesh, and we will all fight against them. My deepest condolences to all the families involved in this terrible attack on behalf of my government too. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to request the President, Foreign Investors Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Mrs. Rupali Chaudhary, to address us.
Distinguished guest, His Excellencies and the media. I wanted to write something, but when I thought of writing something, I thought that I know about this subject so much. And from 1st of July until this day, every day we are discussing this issue. It's in our ethos, it's in our everyday vocabulary. We're talking about it. This is our living memory. As a FICCI president and also on behalf of all the members of the FICCI, we say that we stand together against all kinds of terrorism. And for us, for Bangladeshi people, as a Bangladeshi citizen, it is a wake-up call, because we thought of that we don't have any suicide bombers in our country. We thought we are kind-hearted. We may have one or two incidences. And finally, we saw that, no, that's not true. So we are part of international network. And it was a wake-up for all of us, for the government. Now we have to fight this terrorism. And I know that it's not so easy to fight, because there are groups who are actually united, and we don't know who are our enemies. And the biggest thing that I would like to reiterate, that we tend to move on, but we should not forget about sadness and anger. We should not let our anger go away, so that we remember this atrocity, and we remember that we have to get over this. We cannot let that happen, because those people, they don't want Bangladesh to prosper. But having said that, the kind of terror that we have witnessed, this is very much unique in Bangladesh. It was against the foreigners. And incidentally, and unfortunately, some of the Bangladeshi people also gave their life. And when I talk about Faraaz, I just can't say anything to Simeen or any Waquer, because I am a mother. I know how difficult it is to withstand such a sadness. It's such a personal loss to them. They have to live with this pain forever in their life. And only thing I can say, I wrote a note to my board of directors after this incident, I say Faraaz, he's the face of humanity of Bangladesh, and he's our national hero. And we have to draw energy from him. And I know that Simeen, it's a great personal loss to her and her husband and family, but she can be a proud mother, and she can actually remember Faraaz through his great work, and we are all with you. We stand all together, all FICCI members stand together in this sadness with you, and we will not get this sadness to take over all our energy. Hope is there, and Faraaz is our hope, and all the people who lost their life, our pledge is to them that we are going to move forward. Thank you, MCCI, for organizing this. Thank you very much.
May I now request Mr. Farooq Subhan, former Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh and President of the Bangladesh Enterprise Institute, to please say a few words.
President, MCCI, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here this evening to pay tribute to those who lost their lives on the 1st of July. We are also gathered here to offer our deepest condolences to the families of the bereaved. I would in particular like to mention the parents of Faraaz and the grandparents of Faraaz, and to also pay tribute to him for the courage which he showed, which we have, all of us today, acknowledged and shall remember. 1st of July, in many ways, has been a turning point for Bangladesh. It is an occasion, I believe, for the country, for the government, for the business community, and the civil society to respond to what I see as a major challenge. We at the Bangladesh Enterprise Institute for the past 10 years have been working on the subject of counterterrorism, countering violent extremism, and countering radicalization among the youth. What we can say is that this is a major threat and challenge which the country faces, and it will require a response from every segment of society to face up to this challenge. We need to look closely at our education system. We will need to look closely at building community resilience. We will have to certainly address in a more holistic manner the issue of security. In sum, we need to develop a comprehensive strategy to respond to this challenge. And I believe the private sector has a major role to play. I would therefore like to certainly take this opportunity to thank both the Metropolitan Chamber as well as the heads of the other chambers from whom we've heard this evening for their show of support and their willingness to join hands in responding to this challenge. Very brief, and I would like to say thoughts by saying that this is an occasion when we all need to join hands and respond with both courage and thoughtfulness to the challenge that we face in the days ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to request our past president of Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industries and current president of Bangladesh Textile Mills Association, Mr. Tapat Chaudhary.
Assalamu alaikum. With a heavy heart, I address this august audience today. We have gathered here to pay homage to the innocent victims of the heinous attack at Holey Artisan Bakery of Gulshan, the night of 4th July 2016. I thank everyone who has joined us to mourn for the departed ones. 23 lives were lost in the attack. The victims were in their prime. Man or woman, local or foreigner, no one was spared. 9 Italians, 7 Japanese, 3 Bangladeshis, 1 American, and 1 Indian were killed, along with 2 Bangladeshi law enforcement officers. The world was shocked. Bangladesh was reeling from the devastating blow. A planned terrorist attack of such scale is unprecedented in Bangladesh. On behalf of the business community, we condemn in strongest terms such acts of wanton violence and hatred. We express in earnest our condolence and empathy to the family members and friends of the victims, and we pray to Almighty to give them the strength to bear this irreparable loss. We shall extend all possible cooperation to the government in their initiatives to contain such nefarious elements in the society. We also urge the government to bring the perpetrators to the justice at the soonest. We are grateful to see so many friends of ours, particularly the friends from other countries, standing together with us at our moment of grief. Let us pledge ourselves to continue to be agents of peace, progress, and harmony in the spirit of humanity. It is about time that we as a community unite together against such evils to protect the youth, society, and future. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. A week ago, our mother, Mama, was looking through some of Faraz's older photographs. We came across a picture of his playing volleyball. This was during his 10th grade year at the American International School of Dhaka, and he was on the team. He had this fierce expression on his face, more so of determination that he would emerge the winner of the match. He was significantly smaller than everyone else on that court. He was physically the weakest player. He lacked the athletic prowess of the opposition and even his teammates. 2 years later, this boy found himself becoming the captain of the school team. He led the team because he was determined to become the best player. He led them because of his inner strength, his determination, his will to win, and his leadership outshone everybody else. His hulking, athletic teammates, and I dare say even opponents, had nothing but immense respect, admiration, and love for Faraaz. That was him. He always knew that his inner might would allow him to overcome anything. Similarly, that night at Holey, did he believe that he could physically defeat 5 armed terrorists? Probably not. He was a very smart boy. But I can tell you that he acted solely on his unshakable belief in doing what was right. And he believed that if he stuck by his values, he would overcome any challenge life threw at him. Faraaz, from a toddler till his last day, embodied this unbelievable strength of character every day of his life. It is this innate strength that had seen him through any hurdle he faced during his 20 years. Faraaz's inner strength denied the terrorists their offer to flee. This strength led him to stand by his friends Abinta and Tarishi till the end, regardless of nationality or religion. This strength allowed him to emerge the hero he is today. And today I stand privileged to speak about my brother in front of a highly successful individuals. But I ask, what is success? Success should be measured by the magnitude of one's positive impact in our world and in our hearts. Faraaz was an exceptional student, a perfect son, the most caring grandson, and a loving younger brother who will always be a part of me. And yes, he would have been outstandingly successful, and yes, he would have made that impact. But I refrain from speaking of his potential. I refrain from thinking of what he would have achieved, of how he would have had a sparkling career, of how he would have lived a beautiful, happy life. If he had come out, I have no doubt that he would have done just that, if not much more. However, I can proudly say, standing here, that Faraaz has outdone any ambition he ever dreamt of, and he has made an impact beyond any success he wanted to achieve. He has certainly broken past the limited bounds of our imagination, outdoing his own destiny. Today, his success, his significant impact on Bangladesh and beyond is not within the confines of our world or our time. It will pass on with generations to come. Though it seems impossible to be positive while feeling hollow inside, we, Faraaz's family, hold our heads high. We look at the difference our little one made. Faraaz had everything in the world going for him. He sacrificed so much when he stood up for what's right by paying the highest price any human being can pay. But I know that his sacrifice will not go in vain. Bangladesh will, inshallah, come out stronger. I can say with full conviction that everyone present here today, and even those who are not present, will continue on fighting for what Faraaz stood for. Mama, you know Faraaz always took joy in being on a mission. But the greatest mission of all, the one mission that he woke up every morning thinking of, was to make his mama proud. And mama, Faraaz has completed his mission, but not only for you. He's made the world proud. I look out as I speak and I see unstinting support. Thank you for standing by us, for standing by Faraaz. I would like to thank the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dhaka, and all those present here for giving me this opportunity to pay a small tribute to our Faraaz. Thank you.
Honorable guests, excellencies, and the family of Faraaz Ayaaz Hossain. Good evening and assalamu alaikum. What happened on the night of 1st July was a terrible tragedy. While our business and others in the service industry in Gulshan are suffering, we cannot even begin to compare this to or even imagine the pain felt by those who lost family members that night. We feel a great responsibility and a great burden that this tragic event occurred at a place that we built. From accounts, it seems that of our employees, our pizza chef Saiful was killed while trying to prevent the terrorists from entering, and another kitchen assistant, Shaun, passed away a few days later after succumbing to his injuries. We are grateful to a group of very young friends who on their own pulled together to raise some funds for our staff's families, which we will of course distribute, and we will do whatever we can to help them. Just a few days after the event, my partner Sadat Mehdi decided to try and start producing a few limited quantities of items for sale of Holey from Izumi. A few people commented that this was very brave of us, and we strongly disagree. True bravery is how Faraaz acted that night. And true courage is how all the victims faced the terrorists. Determination we see displayed to us by our staff who were hostages that night, who were returning to work and picking up the pieces. And true strength is to see how the family members of Faraaz are coping and to hear the words that his brother spoke proudly of him. We all have a responsibility now, as people and as a community, to look after our next generation and to ensure that more boys are not lost or misguided, and they grow up like fine young men with the values that Faraaz had, and that more girls can live their lives the way Abinta, Tarishi, and Ishrat had, pursuing education and excellence. We know from stories of the Japanese and the Italians also who lost their lives that night that they were all contributing positively to this country, either through their work or through their daily kind deeds and actions. We only need to look to the north of this country to see how the floods have affected people's lives, homes, and businesses, and to take strength to see the way they carry on in spite of everything. In a country like Bangladesh, we do not need to look far to be reminded of how privileged and lucky some of us can be. We therefore owe it to ourselves and to the people of this country to use every ounce of our skills and opportunities and talents for good. Our thoughts and prayers remain with the families of the victims of the 1st July, and we would like to extend our deepest condolences to them all. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. First of all, let me really very, very sincerely thank the Metropolitan Chamber, Nasim Manzur in particular, and his colleagues on the committee of MCCI, Farooq, the Secretary General, and all those who've made this evening possible. For me, actually, MCCI is an integral part of my own being. I've, throughout my working career, my association and involvement with MCCI for well over 40 years is the reason I'm standing here. So thank you, all of my colleagues. I can see many of them here, and those who aren't here, I'm sure we have the same goodwill and support from them. Horrible events of 1st July is, of course, well known. The barbaric nature of these these killers without any sense of values which they allegedly espouse. They are doing it in the name of religion. I can't understand, and I don't think any of us can or will ever understand how these demented minds really work. However, we will have to, we will have to accept and live with the fact that this event of 1st July is a game changer for Bangladesh. And it is something that particularly those in the business community, and I must thank my peers, my friends from the other trade parties, the MPCCI, Chittagong Chamber, my dear friend Mahbub Rahman from ICC, Rupali of Vicky and everyone else, and please pardon me if I miss out some names. The business community for standing here in memory of those who lost their lives on the 1st of July. And of course, on a very personal basis, my very dear grandson, Faraaz. However, what I do want to say, and this was a refrain I heard, Bangladesh must, will, and absolutely, without any doubt, overcome this. And the business community is really, I firmly believe, the ones who are the stakeholders who have to stand and fight this scourge of terrorism that has actually reached our shores. The business community, if I may say so, my colleagues, are the ones who, to use a phrase, put their money where their mouths are. So they are committed, we all are committed to this country. In my particular case, my daughter Simeen, my son Riaz, the other second daughter Shazi, and more importantly, as you saw Zaraif speaking, he just graduated on the 9th of May from Emory University in Atlanta. We came back on the 18th. He has joined Transcom on the 1st of June on a full-time basis. So we have actually put in, like many of my friends in the business community have, put in their children and their grandchildren's future into this country of ours, which we love, which we have built, which we fought for in '71. So the question of surrendering to anybody, giving up, absolutely does not arise. I will just end by thanking each and every one of you for being here, for the tributes you have paid to the martyrs of 1st July, and also, of course, for me, for my family, the loss of Faraaz is intense, but out of this, we can take pride that this boy showed a mettle, a strength, values, which really, I really could not comprehend, but he has gone beyond what I could ever imagine. I miss him dearly, like the rest of us do. But we are immensely proud of you, Faraaz. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I thank you for being with us this evening, for joining us to pay homage to the innocent victims of the massacre at Holey Artisan Bakery on the 1st of July. I believe your heartfelt condolences will bring some measure of comfort to the families and friends of those whom we lost to this mindless, senseless attack. It is now my somber and onerous duty to bring this evening's proceedings to a close with some of my personal remarks. I say this, they did not die in vain. Their deaths provoked global condemnation and a severe security reaction, which probably saved many other lives. Although they have moved on, accounts of their courage and bravery will live on. They were heroes. Their sacrifices inspire us. Thanks to them, we strive to be better people. Evil lurks in the dark recesses of the human soul. It is only kept in check by the innate goodness of humanity, and that goodness is nurtured by the pain and sacrifice of the innocent. Humanity survives because people like our absent friends. Thanks to them, cowardice, prejudice, and hate will lose their battle. We are so pained by their deaths, yet in the broader sense, they died for the cause of humanity, to preserve the decency and humanity that we all crave for. We are connected by powerful bonds of simple human decency and goodness. And so we hurt. Our country hurts. Every right-minded person everywhere hurts. Indeed, the world hurts. We are all affected by the unspeakable horror of the tragedy. I am reminded of a quotation by John Donne, the 16th century poet and philosopher. No man is an island, entire of itself. Any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. Let me end by thanking everyone once again for being here with us this evening. Thank you for expressing your solidarity and condoling the death of the innocents. Each of them was extraordinary. So let us remember the nobility of their lives and not just the circumstances of their death. Thank you for your attention.